All right, hello and welcome. If you're a student, you know all about the pressure of deadlines, right? Well, today we're going to break down a guide that's been making waves in the UK. It promises to help you use AI to get ahead. So let's dive in and see what it's all about. So, the guide we're looking at today doesn't mess around. It kicks off with this question right here. And honestly, it's a great hook, isn't it? It just cuts right to that feeling we all know, being totally overwhelmed, just buried under a mountain of homework. Okay, so what's the big promise here? Well, the source boils it all down to this: just 3 totally free AI tools that it says can completely change your study game. So, what we're going to do is unpack that claim and see exactly how this whole system is meant to work. But before we get to the solutions, the guide kind of takes a step back. It grounds us in a problem that pretty much every student faces. It's all about setting the scene, highlighting that core challenge these AI tools are supposed to fix, that constant, never-ending time crunch. And what's really clever here is how the source uses such a simple phrase to paint a super vivid picture. I mean, it's a scene basically every student can relate to, right? The late nights, the deadlines creeping up, and just that feeling of trying to keep your head above water. This is the before picture the guide really wants you to hold on to. All right, so how are we supposed to solve this problem? Well, the guide's first step tackles what is often the biggest hurdle for any assignment: just getting started. You know that feeling. This part is all about beating that blank page and getting a first draft down, and doing it super, super fast. And the first tool up is, no surprise here, a name we all know: ChatGPT. Specifically, the free version. But what's interesting is how the guide frames it. It's not just some chatbot. It's positioned as your own personal academic assistant for that really crucial first stage of writing. So, how does it actually help? The source points to 3 main things. First, you can use it to whip up initial essay drafts, which is a lifesaver for writer's block. Second, you can throw dense research papers at it and get back these quick, easy-to-digest summaries. And finally, if you're stuck on a specific homework question, it can give you an explanation. And this right here is the main selling point. It's not just what it can do, it's how fast it does it. That promise of getting stuff done in minutes, that speaks directly to that stressed student we were just talking about. Okay, so you've got your draft. Now what? Well, what about the visuals? A lot of assignments, especially presentations, really need a strong design element. The guide's next step tackles that exact problem. So, tool number 2 is Canva AI. Now, Canva has been a go-to for design for ages, but the source makes a point of highlighting its new AI features. It says they're the next essential piece of the puzzle for this whole student workflow. And what it offers is super clear. The guide basically says this is your go-to for making really polished presentations and custom graphics, and you don't even need any design skills. I mean, for any student trying to juggle a bunch of different subjects, that's a massive time saver. And here we go again. The guide really hammers home its main point. Just like with the drafting tool, the key benefits are speed and the fact that it's free. The promise is pretty simple. You can make your work look way better in just a few moments, and it won't cost you a thing. All right, so we've got a draft, and we've got the visuals. What's next? According to this guide, the final step is all about the polish. It's about taking everything you've made and just refining it, getting it to the highest possible quality before you hand it in. And for this last step, the guide points to our third tool, Grammarly's free AI writing assistant. You can basically think of it as the final quality check, designed to catch all those little errors and just make your writing clearer overall. The way the guide presents the benefits is like a clear, logical step-by-step. First, it's a safety net, right? It catches basic grammar mistakes. Second, it actually helps improve the quality and flow of your writing. And both of those things are meant to lead to this really compelling final point. You stop losing marks. And that's the ultimate promise, isn't it? The guide connects using this tool straight to doing better in your classes. It's not just about fixing typos. It's being sold as a direct way to protect your grades from those silly, avoidable mistakes. So now that we've seen all 3 tools, the guide wants us to kind of zoom out and look at the big picture. It argues that these aren't just 3 separate apps. They're part of a combined system, a real student hack that gives you a serious advantage. And this right here really sums up the transformation that the guide is promising. It's this journey, right? From the stress and the long hours on one side to being calm and efficient on the other. This is the core before and after picture for the whole system. And there you have it, the whole process boiled down into a super simple 3-step workflow. Draft, design, perfect. The source presents this as a repeatable system that pretty much any student can use to make their work way more efficient from start to finish. So as we start to wrap things up, the guide leaves us with one final call to action. But, it also brings up a much deeper question about what this whole new way of working actually means. The guide's final message is really urgent, and it's all about the benefits. It's not just a suggestion, it's more like a direct command. Do this now and get your time back. The entire argument really hangs on this promise of getting immediate, real results. And in the end, it all comes down to this one simple number: 3. Just 3 free tools. The source's ultimate argument is that a complete revolution in how you study is basically just 3 downloads away. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important question. This whole guide is built around the promise of speed, of getting answers in minutes. Now that sounds amazing for any student who's feeling the pressure. But it really makes you think, doesn't it? When the process of finding an answer happens instantly, what does that do to the actual process of learning? And that's the question we'll leave you with today. Thanks for tuning in.